would you do if you woke up in the middle of the night and heard someone standing right outside your bedroom door, but no one was there? It started like any normal night. I had just moved into this old house in Illinois. It was a historic home, one of those places with creaky floors and walls that whispered secrets. I was excited to have a place of my own, away from the noise of the city, away from the chaos. But now I wish I never set foot inside that place. I'll never forget the first night I spent there. It was late, probably around 2 a.m. I had finally settled into bed. The weight of the days moved pressing on me. I was exhausted, but I couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, too still. There was this heaviness in the air, like the walls were holding their breath. And then I heard it. At first, I thought it was just the house settling. You know how old houses are, creaky, moody. But then the footsteps came again, slow, deliberate. They echoed through the hallway, right outside my bedroom door. I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. I froze. My body went cold. I told myself it was nothing, but my mind couldn't stop racing. It wasn't the house settling. The footsteps were too purposeful. Whoever, or whatever, was out there knew exactly where they were going. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was being paranoid. But then I heard the whispering. Not loud, but clear enough that I could make out words. Low, almost like it was right next to my ear. I couldn't understand what it was saying. I didn't even want to understand. I thought I was imagining it. So I tried to convince myself that maybe I was just dreaming. But then I heard the door handle slowly turning. I jumped out of bed, my heart hammering in my chest, and I ran to the door. It was locked. I checked the windows. They were locked too. There was no one there. I stood there in the dark, my breathing heavy, sweat cold on my skin. I couldn't shake the feeling that someone or something was in that house with me. I should have left. I should have packed my bags and run. But I didn't. I stayed. I tried to tell myself it was just nerves. I mean, this house was old, right? It was probably just a draft or the pipes acting up. But then it happened again. The next night around the same time. Footsteps. Whispering. But this time it was worse. It was like the whispers were trying to reach me. Like they knew I was listening. They were calling my name. I thought maybe it was the wind. Maybe my imagination was playing tricks on me. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Something was wrong. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know. So I started looking into the history of the house. The more I searched, the darker it got. I found a local news article from 1923. It was about a gruesome murder right there in the house I was living in. A man had killed his wife brutally in the very room I slept in. They said it was a crime of passion, but something about it felt off. And then it hit me. The whispers, the footsteps, the cold feeling in the air. It wasn't my imagination. The house wasn't empty. It wasn't just old. It was haunted. That night, I decided to confront whatever was haunting me. I stood in the middle of the room, heart pounding, trying to summon the courage to face whatever had been tormenting me. And then I heard it, a voice, low and raspy, but it was different this time. It wasn't whispering anymore. It was clear. It was angry. I turned. The door was open, slowly, creaking on its hinges. just like in my nightmares. My breath caught in my throat. My body froze in terror as I watched the door slowly swing open by itself. I backed away from the door, my heart racing. I didn't want to look, but I couldn't tear my eyes away. There, standing in the doorway, was a shadow. No, not a shadow, a figure. I saw it, a man, his face twisted in pain. He was covered in blood. The same man from the old article. His eyes empty, like he was staring straight through me. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. All I could do was stare into the hollow void of his eyes. I ran. I ran out of that room, out of the house, not stopping until I was outside, gasping for air. I couldn't take it anymore. The whispers, the footsteps, that face, everything. It wasn't just a nightmare. It was real. I moved out of the house the very next day. I couldn't stay there. I couldn't risk it. And when I left, the strange occurrences stopped. The footsteps, the whispers, the figure. I don't know if it was the spirit of the man who died in that house, or something else entirely. But I know one thing for sure. Some places aren't just haunted by the past. They are the past. And sometimes the past doesn't want to be forgotten. Before we move on to the next story, if you like true scary stories, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon for more creepy tales every week. Have you ever had a moment when you just know something isn't right? Something's watching you. Something's waiting. I froze. My phone was sitting on the desk next to me, but I wasn't expecting anyone to call. I picked it up, thinking it was probably a friend or just a wrong number. What happened next made my blood run cold. I see you. I don't even know what to think. It was the strangest, creepiest thing. I thought maybe it was a prank call. People do weird stuff like that, right? So I hung up immediately, tried to shake off the feeling crawling up my spine. But the thing is, I couldn't shake it. Something about that voice, the way it was so quiet, so calm, it felt wrong. I didn't even want to think about it, but my mind wouldn't let it go. I tried to get back to my studying, but I couldn't focus. My heart was pounding in my chest. Then the phone rang again. It was like a loop. Each time I tried to ignore it, the calls kept coming. And each time, the voice sounded closer, more intense. I turned off the lights, thinking maybe I could somehow hide from it. But I couldn't stop looking at my phone. I didn't want to answer, but I didn't want to leave it either. The seconds felt like hours. My heart felt like it was going to burst out of my chest. And then I heard it. The sound came from outside my window. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but the noise kept going, slowly, methodically, like someone was dragging something along the ground. The sound came from outside my window. At first, I thought it was just the wind, but the noise kept going, slowly, methodically, like someone was dragging something along the ground. I couldn't see anyone or anything. The streetlights were casting long shadows, but nothing seemed out of place. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling. Someone was out there. Someone was watching. That's when I made the mistake. I didn't call the police. I thought I could handle it myself. I mean, it was just a prank, right? It had to be. But as the night dragged on, the feeling of being watched only grew stronger. I locked every door, double-checked every window. My heart wouldn't stop racing. My mind was consumed by the thought that there was someone outside, standing in the darkness, waiting. I tried to distract myself. I went back to my desk, tried to focus on my studies, but the buzzing in my head was too loud. I couldn't concentrate. I couldn't think. And then another ring. I didn't answer this time. I just let it ring. But it wasn't just the calls anymore. I heard footsteps outside my door. Slow, measured, like someone was pacing back and forth, just outside. I could hear them, faintly. I was paralyzed with fear, unable to move. I wanted to scream, but I couldn't. It felt like my throat had closed up. The calls kept coming, again and again. I'm watching you. At that moment, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed my phone, dialed the police, and finally asked for help. But by the time they arrived, there was nothing. No sign of anyone. The phone stopped ringing. The footsteps stopped. The next morning, I woke up to a horrific realization. The police had checked around my apartment, but they couldn't find any evidence of someone outside. It was like nothing had happened. But when I looked out my window, I saw it, a single, unmistakable footprint in the dirt outside. It wasn't from my shoes. It wasn't from anyone I knew. Someone had been there, and they were watching me. The calls didn't stop that night. They didn't stop for weeks. And every time that voice, asterisk, reminded me of the same chilling words. Asterisk, I'm watching you. Asterisk, I never felt safe in that apartment again. I moved out shortly after, not willing to take the risk any longer. To this day, I still don't know who it was. Was it someone who had been watching me from the shadows? Was it just a sick prank gone too far? Or was it something else, something darker, something that knew exactly where I was and where I'd go next? Whatever it was, it's still out there, watching, waiting.